happy to see you today. Welcome back to the video podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about love and connection. Raise your virtual hand if you want more love and connection in your life. I think that's all of us, honestly. And I love studying relationships. I love improving my skills in relationships because you know what? At the end of the day, it's really the only thing that matters. When people get to the end of their life and someone asks them, what do you wish you had prioritized more? What do you wish you had been better at? Almost every single person says relationships. This is sometimes, I think, way more important than we think it is to our quality of life. And today we're going to be talking about how to instantly improve every relationship with one question. How many of you are like, I need to know this question? We're going to get there. I promise. But first of all, I want to share with you a story about how this has sometimes played out in my own life. Before I learned relationship skills and before I feel like I had a lot of awareness around how I was showing up in relationships, I would have said that I was very easy to get along with. And it sounds arrogant now, even just to say it. But especially in my marriage, especially in my relationship with Stevie, I was like, I am so easy to get along with. And I mean, what a joy it must be, right? To be married to somebody who believes they're really easy to get along with. But the reason that I thought that is because not really because I had great relationship skills, I don't think, but mostly I feel like what I was back then is kind of passive aggressive. So I was easy on the surface to get along with. And then inwardly, I would be kind of have this resentment or not really not really allow myself to be who I really was in the relationship, not really acknowledge my own thoughts and feelings. And that is not a good way to go. And when I learned these skills, it really changed everything. It helped me show up so much more authentically and so much better for myself and for the other people around me. So I like to say there's good news and bad news for relationships. So tell me, are you a good news first or bad news first kind of person? Because if you're a good news first kind of person, actually, the answer to this question is the same. So the good news is you're 100% responsible for the love, connection, joy, and fun that you create for yourself in your relationships. And the bad news is you are 100% responsible for the love, connection, joy, fun that you create in your relationships or that you don't. And a lot of us believe that it has something to do with the other person, that if we're having a lot of loving connection, it's because of the other person. I want to take this one, and I'm going to give you the question in just a second. You're like, give me the question. What question will instantly improve my relationships? I'm going to give it to you in a second, but I want to tell you first that I want to give you this example. So somebody told me, and this is very common. This doesn't mean anything is wrong with us. Somebody told me, I just feel very bored in my marriage. So, what I'm saying today applies to every relationship, but let's just take a relationship that can sometimes feel hard. And how many of us would admit, maybe if only secretly, that sometimes we agree with that? Like, I'm very bored in my marriage, right? Well, what I think that what happens when we say that is that we think we're bored. Why? We think we're bored because of what the other person is doing or not doing. We think we're bored because maybe we haven't been taking vacations or because of a bunch of things that are outside of ourselves. That's what we think. And as her coach, I reminded her that bored is a feeling. Now, I spoke last night for a women's health thing, and I talked a lot about how our thoughts create our feelings. And I talked a lot about the internal experience of our lives comes from the way we think. So we think, oh, I'm bored in my marriage because of my husband. But I know that's not true because I know that nobody outside of you can make you bored. I know that the only way that you can feel bored or the only way that you can feel anything is when you have a thought about it. So that's what I'm saying when I say it's good news and bad news. The good news is you're bored because of the way you're thinking about your life and your relationship. The bad news is it's you. It's that Taylor Swift song. Y'all, I am about to take my adult children to see Taylor Swift this weekend and I can barely stand it. I can't wait. I'm so excited. But you know that song. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. But the good news is when you're the problem, you can be the one to fix it. So if your thought is I'm bored in my marriage, the good news is you're creating that feeling of boredom with your own thinking. Then you have to ask yourself, what actions do I take from that feeling? Because when we have a thought and then we have a feeling, from that feeling, we take action. So, what action am I taking from that feeling? You're probably taking a lot of boring actions, or you're not taking any actions. And we don't think this is true, but I promise this is true. If you are like most of my clients, you get stuck in thoughts like this that you just think the thought is true because you're seeing the world through this lens of, I feel bored in my marriage. You think it's just true, and you can give me a lot of reasons why. You can point to a lot of things, but you're creating the evidence for that with that thought, and then you're taking action in your life and in your relationship from that thought, right? So I promise you that you can just decide to have a different thought. So here's where the question comes in. So I like to ask myself, how can I reframe this statement? A thought is just a statement. How can I reframe this statement in a way that creates more love and connection? So that's the question. That's the one question that I promise you, if you practice this today, will improve the experience you have of every relationship. So maybe you tell yourself, it's difficult in my work environment. I have toxic coworkers. We like to say things like that, right? How can I read? Now, listen, when you think that person is toxic, that is a very disconnecting way to think. It disconnects you from them. Sometimes you can even think, oh, I must be a lot better than them because I'm not toxic and they are toxic. And you can find a lot of evidence for that. But most of the time, what we really seek is connection. We really want to be connected to people. But the thoughts we think are very disconnecting. So I like to ask myself, how can I reframe this so that I experience more love and connection? Now, this may seem selfish, but I want to show you that it is, in a way, you do reap some benefits from this, because when you decide to think in a way that creates more love and connection, your body benefits. This is what I taught last night at the health conference. I think you were there, Miss Cheryl. Hi. This is what I taught last night at the health conference, that your body's like a bartender. And when you think thoughts, that every time you think a thought, your body matches that thought with a bunch of chemicals that make you feel a certain way. And some of us have gotten in the habit of creating a chemical, a cocktail in our bodies that's not good for us. We love to create resentment and frustration and disconnection. We love to create boredom. We just get in the habit of creating things, and we look at our external circumstances and go, no, I'm creating that because of them, but they can never tell your body what to create internally. Only you can do that. And so when you decide to reframe it and ask yourself, how could I think about this in a way that creates more love and connection for me and for the people in my life, but for me first? It's such a powerful question. And when you get good at doing this, y'all, you can just create love and connection for yourself all the time, every day, everywhere you go. And guess who gets to benefit from those amazing cocktail of chemicals called love and connection? It's the most powerful concoction in the world. It heals your body. It heals your mind. It makes you strong and resilient to create love and connection. This is what we're created for. And when you get good at doing this, it doesn't matter what your coworkers do or say. It doesn't matter necessarily what your spouse does, if you look at the actions and go, oh, this is boring. No, you're creating that with your own mind. So ask yourself, how could I reframe this statement in a way that creates more love and connection? So instead of saying, I'm bored with my relationship, which is always, by the way, a reflection of you and not them, how about exploring something like, I love thinking of ways to create spark and love and connection in my marriage? If you thought that, you would come up with you would first of all feel better, because saying I'm bored in my relationship probably doesn't create a cocktail of chemicals that you love swimming in. But I love creating spark and connection and love in my marriage. That creates something in your body that's pleasant for you to experience. So you can try on whatever thought you want. Maybe instead of deciding that my coworkers are toxic, maybe you can't get to the point of my coworkers are interesting, but maybe you could go, man, my coworkers are some quirky humans. Something that's lighter, that has more curiosity with it, that has more compassion, that has more of a sense of humor, more levity, because then you get to experience that first. And then the way you show up in the world is as a person who has more love and connection, who's more curious, who has more compassion. And we mistakenly think that love and compassion and joy and adventure and fun is just somewhere out there, and that we're missing out on it, instead of believing the truth, which is, no, I'm creating that for myself or not. It's all an inside job. So if you want to have more love and connection, this is the best news I have. You don't have to have anybody change. You don't have to go around making everybody do what you think they should do or act the way you think they should act. You just get to create that with your own mind. It's such a powerful thing that we just underutilize. It's an inside job, and it gets so much fun to just decide, like, what can I create for myself internally? How pleasant, how amazing, how joyful, how loving, how connected can I make this life? How connected can I be to the people? How much can I enjoy this day that I've been given with these people that I'm with, by intentionally creating more love and connection? And as you reframe your thoughts to do that, that's what you will create. It's like magic. And it's this power that we have that we don't utilize often enough. We make ourselves a victim to everybody. We make ourselves a victim to the people in our lives, to the circumstances in our lives, to our coworkers, to our spouse, to our children, instead of deciding on purpose what we want to create. And this has been such a game changer for me. It has made my life so much more fun, so much more pleasant to experience for myself internally, with so much more love, so much more joy, so much more peace. It doesn't mean that there aren't difficult times, and it doesn't mean that I don't get frustrated, because I'm just one of the humans and I do. But what it means is that when I do that, I recognize that I'm kind of out of alignment with how I want to experience life, and how can I bring myself back to what I do want to create for myself in my own body, by the way I think and feel. It's so powerful. So ask yourself the question, how can I reframe this statement, this thing that I'm saying that feels true and painful? Doesn't even matter if it's true, you guys, if you can find a lot of evidence for it. If it's painful and if it's causing you to generate a cocktail of chemicals in your body that isn't serving you, it's not worth keeping. So ask yourself this very important question: how can I reframe this sentence to create more love and more connection? And the magic is, you actually will do it. You will create that, because those thoughts are powerful. You will create an amazing internal environment for yourself where you get to feel those emotions first. And then from there, you take actions that are loving and connecting. Okay. Thank you for joining today. Love you so much. Can't wait to see you next time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for letting me speak into your life. It is such my honor to do what I get to do every day. And I just want to thank you. I love you so much.